Hey, everybody. On this week's episode of the Teachers Off Duty podcast, we are talking about some of the craziest field trip stories. You don't want to miss it. Everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Teachers Off Duty Podcast. I have two incredible hosts. Sitting to the right of me is the lovely Anna. Where can we find you on socials?
Read away with Miss K. That's me.
We love it. Love having her back for another batch of episodes. And to my left, back by popular demand.
By who?
By
who?
The world.
No, what world?
Yeah, maybe all these people in the comments were just you making burner accounts like, put Tyler back on.
Honestly, that's not far off of something that I'd probably do that. No, that's insane. Hello, everybody. My name is Tyler Jackowski, otherwise known as Fishing for Clout for God knows what reason. I'm glad to be back. Yeah. It's not in demand, but I'm here. I made it. I think I'm like the bottom of the roster, and they're like, God damn it, call Tyler.
This is a big moment for Polacks everywhere. We got we got three Polish people.
Are you Polish?
Yes.
Yakshimash!
The Polish people unite on Teachers Off Duty. Here we are.
Where's the alcohol?
I need the vodka now.
Oh, yeah,
I'm gonna go make.
This is about to become a very dark episode.
Yeah, let's talk about life during the war.
Gabe's like, let's talk about
there.
anything else.
Let's talk about living. Yeah, never mind.
Dude, we're 30 seconds in. This is a nightmare. This is gonna be a rough one.
You know what is not a nightmare though? The Board Teachers Comedy Tour.
That's the one. That's the one.
That is the opposite of a nightmare.
Yeah, it is. It's a wonderful time. I have a bunch of new dates here to read off to you. So, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, March 20th, 2025. See you there. Appleton, Wisconsin, March 21st. La Crosse, Wisconsin, March 22nd. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, March 23rd. Going to be a lot of Wisconsin dates. Going to get some of our Spotted Cow while we're there. Do you guys know what Spotted Cow is?
No, but I'm intrigued.
Very, very famous Wisconsin beer. It's very delicious. Only in Wisconsin. It's pretty cool.
I was really expecting some awesome breed of cow.
No.
Right?
It's,
okay.
Nope, not quite.
Aren't most cows spotted to an
Yeah,
extent?
I was like, how is this any different from any other cow?
Sorry, we're all
this-
so ADD.
This
Okay.
Spotted Cow, it makes the world's best beer. They've got the chocolate cows for the chocolate milk, and then they've got the Spotted Cows
Dude,
for
I thought
the...
that until like 4 or 5 years ago.
Nice.
I swear to God, I'm so
Nice.
behind.
Glad
I'm
you're
a teacher,
teaching
but the
kids.
education system failed me. Yeah.
March 27th, Ocala, Florida. I hope I pronounced that right. March 28th, Fort Myers, Florida. March 29th, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. March 30th, Melbourne, Florida. And then going up to the East Coast, April 3rd, Rochester, New York. April 4th, Elmira, New York. I hope I pronounced that right. Elmira. I can't. I'm sorry.
Like Elvira.
Elvira, but Elmira. April 5th, Jonestown, Pennsylvania. Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
He's
So this is
nailing
the
it.
episode, everybody.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go through all. I'm just gonna pronounce all
He's
these
gonna get
names
to
wrong.
Omaha, and it's gonna be like cut.
Yeah. April 6th, Morgantown, West Virginia. April 10th, Asheville, North Carolina. April 11th, Knoxville, Tennessee. April 12th, Columbia, South Carolina.
Doesn't it suck that you're literally halfway through this list?
I know.
You're doing great.
April 13th, Atlanta, Georgia. May 1st, I'm going to get this wrong, Keene, New Hampshire, or is it
got it.
Keene?
Nailed it.
You got it.
Keene.
Oh, try this one.
May 2nd, Utica, New York.
Well done.
I know that one from The Office. May 3rd, Williamsport, Pennsylvania. May 4th, New Haven, Connecticut. May 8th, Kansas City, Missouri. May 9th, Salina. What's KS? Kansas?
Don't look at me. I'm over here like,
Kansas?
holy crap, why didn't we write out the states? I don't know this.
KS. Oh,
What,
Kansas.
like a genius?
I need to
Are
teach
you kidding
geography,
me?
apparently.
I did teach geography.
And then
I'm over here like, what is WA?
May 10th, Omaha, Nebraska. Love Omaha, Nebraska. One of my favorite places ever. And we have a very special, we'll say it's a field trip that's coming up. Down to the Riviera Maya in Mexico. We
Riviera.
are going to be in Cancun, Riviera Maya. Same place, same but different, okay? We're going to be down there having the first ever Board Teachers Comedy Bash. It is going to be awesome. There are going to be all kinds of comedians, all kinds of activities. There'll be 2 live recordings of the podcast. So if you are looking for a place to laugh, a
Or
place
cry.
to live, a place to love, you can come down to the Riviera Maya and have fun. It is an all-inclusive resort. It's going to be incredible. That will be July 10 through the 13th. It is going to be lovely. It'll be the best field trip that you've ever gone on.
It'll be the only field trip you enjoy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you
It'll
don't
be the
have
only
to
one.
count the children. You don't have to
Exactly.
figure out if you have all of them. It's going to be a good old
Except
time.
I might get lost. I'm not, yeah, no, it's pretty up there.
Gonna have to find Tyler somewhere. So, speaking of field trips,
Face down on a beach.
Today's episode is all about crazy field trips that we've experienced as teachers.
How much
Because
time do we have? Is there like a limit on this?
I mean,
go as long as we possibly can.
Love that.
Because field trips are wild as a teacher.
can I start off by saying that I hate field trips? I don't want to go. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to count the heads on the bus. That gives me so much anxiety. I will always offer to be like, I'll stay back with the kids that can't go. I have no problem with that. I'm
Okay,
good.
but can I ask you if this is like a shared experience? So a lot of people don't know. I mean, anyone watching this is a teacher. And if you're not a teacher watching this, good for you. But teachers know that like when you're planning a field trip, that's almost as difficult as the field trip itself. But I feel like there's a funny like spectrum where if the field trip's really, really easy to plan, it's gonna put you in therapy later in life.
Yes.
Right? Like, and then if it's really, really difficult, then you have like this beautiful shuttle bus that they like bring football teams around in. And then when you get there, they like pick the kids up and they're like, all right, come on, child. And they count them for you and they bring you food and they rub your feet. But like those ones, I don't have the brain power to schedule those ones. So I'm at like the zoo. Where it's like, please bring your kids. No one's coming to the zoo because the chimp is sitting there like, and no one wants to look at that. It's gonna like keep them up at night.
I feel like all teachers have a good zoo story.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't have a good one. I have a traumatic.
traumatic-
One.
Yeah,
Yeah,
these are nightmares.
a good bad story about their field trip to the zoo.
You want to start us off?
Well, see,
let's hear it.
Well, in South Dakota, we
I was
don't
gonna say,
really
what
have
kind
a
of zoos
zoo.
are there in
We don't-
South
You guys just
Dakota?
go to Mount Rushmore.
No, well, no. What we do is like, especially like the elementary schools, they bring them to a farm. They're just like, we're gonna go to the farm today.
Like a petting zoo, that type
Kinda
vibe.
sick.
It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Like you go there and you just kind of like you've got some farmer who's like just really fired up to talk about his corn yield, and it's awesome. Like as an adult, or now that like my frontal lobe is fully developed,
Right.
I just love hearing about like corn yields. I'm like, oh, how do you guys produce more corn? And then I realize like, oh, these kids don't really care about this at all.
The kids are running around like
Yeah, kids
animals
are-
behind you while you're like taking notes
And
with the farmer.
I've got my hand up asking questions and, talking about like how do they breed the cattle so they end up getting the best heifer. Like I find it very interesting. Kids, not so much.
I never
Yeah.
thought I'd hear the words corn yield and heifer used unironically and
Oh.
not
On
in like an
TOD?
insulting way of putting it.
Up north, we just we love our corn. We love our farmers up there. But you have a good zoo story?
I do, but let me start off by saying I feel like the place that you teach, and I've only taught in Massachusetts,
Okay.
like in a city. And in a city, you try to you have two options. You can either replicate something that's actually interesting, or you can just try to go for the things that are like recommended. Like in Boston, so every teacher's done this thing where it's like, I've taught for 3 weeks straight. I'm going to try flying if I keep doing this. I need to find a field trip so I can take a day off. And yeah, almost.
I never think that
But
way.
in
okay.
Boston, it's like there are things that they say that you should do, right? They say like the Freedom Trail. You ever seen the Freedom Trail?
No.
No one has. There is
What
no
is it?
Freedom Trail. It's just like a walking path that doesn't exist. Okay? And don't get me wrong, like it's awesome. But I mean, to save me the embarrassment of absolutely not knowing what it is,
Right.
we're just gonna Google it. And essentially all that it is, it's not like a legitimate like path where you know where you're going or
Okay.
like it's even paved. It literally is just like this path that leads you to like different monuments around Boston.
Oh, okay,
You know?
cool.
So like it would be cool if I knew where the goddamn monuments were. I was like, all right, well it's cheap because it's free.
Mm-hmm.
It's free for a reason. It's cheap because it's free. So I'm like, whatever, let's bring 30 children. At this point I'm teaching 5th grade and they are chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to the Freedom Trail and I'm expecting like a sign, right? That's like, welcome to the Freedom Trail.
Like a
Start
plaque.
here. Or like some type of enclosed gate
Yeah.
like a trail, So we get to the trail and they're like, all right, get moving. And you look 360 degrees around you and there is no hint of where to go.
So you did not have an itinerary. You didn't know what to do.
The Freedom Trail is Googling what the Freedom Trail is and then just like following it through the city. And then you end up like walking through like bars in stuff like through Boston. The problem is that my kids were looking around. They're like, if I don't see something mentally stimulating within the next 40 seconds, I will burn you.
Yeah.
They're like, I brought devices to burn you in case this was boring, and I'm gonna use all of them on you. And it's like, you know how it is. Like, we've all taught younger kids, you need to be entertaining all the time. Some field trips, like the Freedom Trail, like, I'm like you, where I look around Boston now that my frontal lobe has developed, and I'm like, oh my God, stuff happened here. Like, I don't know what happened here, but something happened here. Like, this is big. And now I'm here, and my kids are like, I am gonna hit you if you don't shut up and put us somewhere entertaining. But it's like,
they're like, take us to a Celtics game.
but as it
Right?
here,
We're like,
that
would be fun.
I worked in Catholic school. They're not giving you money for a basketball game. If they go there, we have to like be up there like praying the whole time. But I don't know. I feel like for me in my early years teaching, I sacrificed a good field trip for one that I thought was really easy to plan.
Right.
Because I had help. I had no help when I was planning these field trips. So I was just like Googling cool stuff to do. And it was never cool and there was never anything to do. I just wanted something that was cheap so it would get approved.
Right.
And I wanted something that was like generally historic so it gets approved. And I don't know, the kids hated it. It was absolutely insane.
This episode of Teachers Off Duty is brought to you by BetterHelp. This month is all about gratitude. And sometimes in the hustle and bustle of the season, we often forget to be thankful. So here's a little reminder to send some thanks and love to the people in your life. And also don't forget to show gratitude to yourself. If you're wondering, how do I even show myself gratitude or thankfulness? Is that even possible? Yeah, it is. And if you want to start taking care of yourself and practicing that gratitude with yourself, start with BetterHelp. BetterHelp is an online therapy that fits into your busy schedule. With licensed therapists available from anywhere, BetterHelp can help you unpack that stress, build up some extra resilience, reveal your strengths, or just give you a chance to recharge. In therapy, I'm able to talk through things that I've never been able to share out loud. It's a safe place for me to healthily work through things I didn't even know were affecting me as much as they were. You deserve to take care of yourself too, because let's face it, when you're feeling supported, you are going to be able to give so much more to your students, family, friends, and yourself. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. You just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And if they aren't a fit for you, you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. It's entirely online too, so it fits within your schedule with no traveling or waiting rooms. Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/TOD today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/TOD.
I'll make a confession now. I've never planned a field trip in 10 years of teaching.
Really? Nice.
Never done it.
So have you gone on any field trips?
I've gone on multiple field trips, but I'm never the leader. Never the leader because like I said earlier, I don't like field trips. So I've never offered to make up an idea, or I'll pitch the idea to like that type A teacher that is going to run with the idea and be like, oh, I can't wait to do this paperwork. So I kind of find those teachers. And so I've never been the one in charge.
Yeah. Are you like a warlock?
I know.
I feel like you might be. That's insane to pull off.
Shazam, it's amazing. I know. I've gotten by with it.
God.
The best field trip is one that somebody else plans
exactly. But what like talking about like keeping kids engaged on a field trip, we one time took the kids to a history museum and I was like, I don't know what we're like, how do you keep sixth graders engaged in a history museum? But we went and they had created this scavenger hunt, like the people at the museum, they'd created this scavenger hunt for the kids, and it was so much fun for the kids. I was miserable because I was in charge of 10 kids and they were so into it, and we were running, zapping around that museum all over the place, but the kids were super engaged and they had a blast. And I was wanting to pull my hair out, but I was like, these museum folks really know what they're doing with kids, and I was really impressed. I was like, I would totally come back for this because the kids really did have a good time.
And that's the thing about, like, I was in New York. Whenever I go to New York, I love going to
the city.
Whenever like
Yeah.
in New York City, I love going to like the National
in
History
Albany.
Museum.
I was like, where are you at?
It's like, all right, well, I'm here.
Just chilling up. Yeah, I love going to like the National History Museum
Yeah.
or like going to the Met and seeing all the stuff they have there. Like it is so cool seeing that stuff because it's so well done. They've got so like they have the resources to put on a great museum.
Yep.
And I see like classes that are there and kids are engaged. Then I think about what I have in South Dakota.
Yeah.
And like I don't got anything close to that. Like we went to a baseball game last year, kind of toward the end of the year.
Yeah.
And we of course went to this baseball game. It was like a low minor league game.
Yep.
And they had like education day there. So the stands were full.
Oh,
of
education
everybody
days are the worst.
From K through 8, stands were just full.
Mm-hmm.
And we are like, oh, this could be a fun deal. And of course, it's 95 degrees, not a cloud in sight.
That'll do it.
And then all of a sudden, whenever it was time to get lunch, chaos, just mass chaos. Kids running around, screaming at each other. And then we got like an hour and a half into the game, and we're like, we cannot just have these kids sit here because baseball is boring. I'm sorry to any baseball fans that are out there loving
They're coming for you.
It's boring. Yeah, I love finding these pockets of people that keep poking at things they love. Baseball's boring.
You don't think baseball's fun?
I think it's the most boring sport to watch, and I love sports. I think it takes so much skill to do what they do, but I don't sit there on the edge of my seat and just fired up for every pitch. So you throw in a bunch of elementary and middle schoolers all sitting in one place, chaos. They don't care if the pitcher is, throwing a no-hitter.
Yeah.
They're like, I want to go run around
Yeah.
and just make this an eventful experience.
That's fair.
They're trying to go to the bathroom like they are trying to get out of
Oh my
class.
gosh.
They're like, can we just go to the bathroom and walk around for a minute?
We got about like 15 minutes into that field trip, and we started having people come up, like all these interns. They're like, hey, there's a kid who's in the bathroom, and he's just like destroying it. We're like, oh, like taking like a deuce? He's like, no, he's like vandalizing the bathroom. Like, oh, that's pretty on brand. Let's go take care of that.
It's like when they wet the paper towels and like
Oh,
getting the
yeah,
stick on
yeah.
the ceiling. Yeah.
Oh my god!
they
You just
go-
threw me back to middle school.
Yeah.
I used to do that.
I
we're
would
horrible.
believe that in a heartbeat.
I was not the best student.
Every year we like to go bowling with our kids at the end
That's
of
a
the school year.
great time.
That's
I
fun.
love it. I have a great time. There was one time it went bad. We had a kid that decided to vandalize the bathroom while we were there, kind of throwing toilet paper, like just TP the whole thing. We're like, dude.
Was it me?
Yeah. But it's like teachers want to do these field trips and they want to have fun and have those experiences, but literally like one kid can ruin it.
Yeah.
And that's just the honest reality of it. If you have one kid that ruins it, it's embarrassing because that one person now represents your school. And we talk about that a lot with our kids. Like when we have a field trip, you don't only represent yourself, you represent the entire school.
That is
so
the
be
spiel
smart.
every time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's what's so funny. There was one time I remember we went to, and you guys are bringing up so many, like I'm now remembering
Yeah.
like distant memories
Yeah.
of like decent field trips. I remember we went to Fenway Park and
Oh, how cool.
Fenway's sick. See, I think, and I want to just touch on this real quick. I think the thing is, I do agree that baseball is like a very like mellow, slow, like there's a lot of time in between each thing.
So boring.
No.
You just described something that's boring.
I think what I really love about baseball is that I get to go to Fenway Park to watch baseball
sweet.
and just the vibe there. I walk in and my energy is on 11
Yep.
and they're playing music. They're doing
Yeah.
hot to go.
Yeah.
I'm doing the
So
dance.
I'm eating
if
hot
that's
dogs.
11, where are you at normally? If like you're normally
Oh,
at
I wake
11.
up at like 10 and a half.
Yeah, yeah.
I was going to say, all you have to do is put me in Fenway Park. And I'm like, no. So we went to Fenway Park and I realized like, this is when I like started getting a grasp on like how to get my students to do what I want them to do.
Right.
And we went there and I told my class, I was like, I'm just going to let you know, I'm going to choose 3 kids who I feel like are actually doing a good job representing the school. And you're going to get a prize. And
Ooh,
I
we
had
love a
like I had
prize.
like that typical group of kids. I have kids who are angels all the time where I'm like, dude, I'm gonna buy you ice cream. Just keep being yourself. Like don't randomly become like a serial killer during this game. So I have like this group of kids that are like, you're not gonna do anything. Like what are you gonna do? You're gonna get us like some popcorn to share? And I'm like, okay, act
Yeah.
right. You'll find out
Yeah.
what it is, or act wrong. You don't have to find out.
Yeah.
And it's a really good. And what's good about this field trip is it happened early in the year. It happened in like right around now.
So you're setting the
'cause-
tone,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So I tell my kids, I'm like, I'll get you guys a treat. I'll pick 3 kids who I feel like are absolutely crushing it. And the kids who, like, I had like a group of 5 that are always perfect. I told them, I was like, if not all you get chosen, I'll get you someone else. Don't worry. So what's good about this situation is like after the whole game, I was like, all right, this person's doing great, this person's doing great, this person's doing great. And there was that group of kids that were like, you're not going to get them anything. I go and I get them. Fenway's insane. They have like these baseball helmets just full of an ice cream sundae.
Oh, sick.
They're like $35
right
a
now.
piece, but I've never invested on some that had such a high return. When I walk back and I see the kids who are like, he's not going to do anything, and this isn't worth like actually acting right, they're like,
Oh, I would imagine there's tears involved. Like, but I want this Sunday.
And they look at me and they're like, Mr. J, what? I'm like, you're mad at yourself.
Yeah.
You're mad at you. I was like, you had a full warning. You decide not to listen to me. Maybe next time we go to Fenway, you won't throw a Frank onto the field, and then I won't have to scream at you. And I was like, do you see how delicious that ice cream looks? That's the product of not acting the way that you've been acting all day. And you know what happened? Through the entire year, I told him, I was like, I'll just watch the rest of the year. If I feel like you deserve it based on like November through May, I'll choose you then too. And it chilled them out the entire year because it's that follow through on the promise.
I was going to say, like, so many teachers, like first year teachers, I'm like, listen, if you make a promise, you have to follow through, whether it's a positive promise or a negative one. So that's what you
know how many
showed them.
Munchkins I bought?
Yeah. Oh.
Where
Yeah.
I was like, if we have a good week, I'll buy Munchkins. And then every week I was buying Munchkins.
Yeah.
And I was
You're
like,
this
we're
is
going to have a serious health problem
Yeah,
in this class. Because,
some diabetes floating in this room today.
I'm going to have the nurse being like, by the way, don't do that.
Yeah,
because
that's
that's
not
not
good.
all right.
I always tell my students, if you don't stop talking, I'll start crying. One of these days, I'm going to have to put on the waterworks.
I think I could cry on demand.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. I
Nice.
could cry on demand for
Do
sure.
it. Go right now.
No, don't
Do
put
it.
the pressure on
Do
me
it.
now.
Nice.
You look like every one of my
Wow.
students.
That's
You
very
look like
good.
all of them with it. That's why I miss teaching younger kids because like whenever they get sad, they get so aggressively sad. It's always for something stupid
Yeah.
where they're like, I don't know. Like I drop my pencil and I'm like, all right, good thing you have legs and arms and gravity to pick it up. And then they're like,
Yeah,
and I'm
it's
like,
always the
I'm like,
bottom
whatever
lip.
you're doing with your lip, you got to
Yeah.
stop it because you look silly. You got to stop.
Hey everyone, with the holidays creeping up faster than your aunt's fruitcake recipe, I've got something way better to share with you. If you want to look sharp for all those festive gatherings and maybe finally win that Best Groomed at Family Dinner award, check out Manscaped's latest masterpiece, the Chairman Pro Package. Trust me, it's like Rudolph, but for your face, guiding you to a smooth, irritation-free shave. Head over to manscaped.com and join over 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using code OFFDUTY for 20% off plus free shipping. If you're looking for a gift for a guy in your life, or if you want to take care of yourself, look no further than the Chairman Pro, which is armed with not one, but two interchangeable skin-safe blade heads. These are going to be your grooming heroes for when you want that smooth shave, and the skin-safe stubble trimmer for when you want to keep some stubble, but, clean it up for a family dinner. The Chairman Pro is also waterproof, which means you can use it in the shower, and it simplifies cleanup too. Just a quick rinse under the sink and you're all set. It's not just for daily shaves either. It's powerful enough to tackle Santa's beard or that 5-day regrowth. With 75 minutes of shave time on a single charge, you have plenty of power to get you through all the holiday festivities this year. Get the Chairman Pro package today and experience the shave that is as smooth as you deserve. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code OFFDUTY at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with code OFFDUTY at manscaped.com.
One of the things I love about field trips is when you have the parent volunteers that come with, and at the end of it, the parent volunteers are like, "I don't know how you do this job," and they see the chaos or not chaos, but they see the herding of cats that is teaching. And I've had it so many times when afterwards parents are like, "I don't know how you do this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for
it's
being
hardcore.
a teacher." And it's like, it's so funny when people find out that you're a teacher, they kind of treat you like you're a war vet. They're
They
like,
really do,
Thank you
yeah.
for your service.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
But then like when
I get a lot of bless your heart from where I live.
yeah, I get a lot of
Yeah.
that. But it is fun having the parent volunteers and seeing the parents be engaged and whatnot, and especially like younger kids, like elementary. activity. The parents love being there for those experiences with the kids. They love
100%.
going to the farm and being the chaperone and seeing their kid have fun. Everything in South Dakota just goes back to going to a farm.
I was going to say,
That's the only
Gabe's like,
option.
remember that time in November where we went to the farm, and then
snowed.
in December we
went to the farm again.
farm, but there was snow.
We saw the soybeans the one time, then we saw the corn, then we went to the pig farm. It was a great time.
And they're like, if you guys keep it together for the rest of the year, in May, we'll go to the farm.
We're going to the farm.
again. But
They're gonna start seeing like animals that are no longer there for one reason. They're gonna be like, "Oh, damn, this farm is like morbid."
yeah.
My favorite animal died. No.
Oh God, that's a nightmare.
So, like I said before, every year we do a bowling field trip, and my inner competitive psycho comes out during that.
Oh,
and
I love it.
I start talking mad trash
Yep.
like a week
Yep.
before. I'm like,
Yep.
kids, I'm gonna kick your butt at bowling. And they're like, oh no, I won't. I'm like, no, I will. Am I a good bowler? Not at all.
No.
But I talk so much trash about bowling.
I feel like it's
and-
mandatory to talk trash.
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
So last year we went on our field trip, and I had broken my thumb leading up to it. So I was playing basketball before it, and my thumb was massive. Like it was terrible. So I was like, you know what? A normal person would rest today and not be trying to bowl with a thumb that's double the size. I'm like, I'm not normal, so I'm just gonna take it to all these kids I've been talking trash to like all year about this bowling thing. So I started just chucking the ball, man.
Yeah.
I was having a great time.
Gabe's
and
on
my
the floor,
thumb,
just like throwing it with his feet.
yeah, my thumb kept swelling up. I was like, no, I have to keep doing this and show all these young boys that I am the alpha and I can bowl better than they can.
And you can bowl better than they can with a broken
thumb.
Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
the
that's
shade
hurtful.
of it all.
What
Love
grade
it.
are you with?
7th grade. So we were
The
getting
best.
into it. We were getting into it, and it got to the point to where my thumb, like I could barely fit it into the hole. But
Yeah.
I was like, the show must go on. And I took it to all those 7th grade boys. What did it cost me? It cost me like 3 weeks of my thumb being very, very uncomfortable. But it was worth it.
Still black.
Dude, it was crazy. Like it's better now, but it was bad.
No,
What a
you're
champion you
absolutely
are.
right though. Like when I was teaching, like okay, so when I was going from teaching like elementary up to teaching high school, when I was in elementary, I taught like 5th and 6th grade,
Yeah.
and we played basketball all the time, and I did the same thing. I talked trash where I was
yeah.
like, I'll teach you nouns and then I'll smoke you in one-on-one.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I can do it all. Like don't
Yeah.
worry about that. But then when I started teaching 11th and 12th grade, I realized that like these kids are twice my size. They're
They will
220 pounds,
Yeah.
soaking wet like grown adults.
Yeah.
Like, and when they play basketball, they don't like play basketball. They're like, I will go through you,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna make
Yeah.
it look fantastic. But and I tried to play with my students this past year. And I like almost had an asthma attack. It was crazy. It was like not fun.
Yeah.
I was like dunking on the kids in 5th grade because we like lower the rim so that it's like almost fair. I'm like going in between the legs, like going over their heads and like dunking
You like
the
that?
thing.
You like that?
Oh, yeah,
kid?
You've
exactly.
never felt so
I'm like,
masculine in your life.
Yeah. Oh no, because I'm not like compared to like the other like individuals of the world who's like 7'12". I'm not that much out there, but the students they'll look at me and they'll be like, "You're a teacher, you can't shoot a ball." And I was like, "I'll tell you, I go to the YMCA on Sundays and I play with geriatric men. I can shoot a ball, all right." And to them, I'm friggin' Steph Curry. So
Yeah,
don't talk to
yeah.
me about this.
Yeah.
I have a field trip story for you.
Ooh,
Let's hear it.
wow, you went.
That
to that was a
segue
quick one.
was-
Yeah, my Zoloft isn't working.
There you go.
So basically, that's so dark.
Welcome to TOD, everybody.
Welcome back to my therapy. My therapist quit. I wish that was a joke. So we went to the zoo,
no,
right? We're
okay.
gonna go right back to the zoo. She didn't quit because of me, I don't think.
Oh, that's what.
you
Just
don't
keep
think-
telling yourself that.
Damn it, she quit because of me. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah. She was like, "I have a newborn baby," and I'm like, "Sure, Helen, whatever you say."
Helen.
I was like, "You just want an excuse for like this confidentiality thing to go away." I end up in a psych ward. So we're at the zoo, and like we said before, when you're early on teacher, you don't go for like the most intricate, difficult to plan ones. And unlike you, I actually had to plan a couple of them. I didn't want to, and I shouldn't have been in charge of that. But I planned this trip to the zoo because it was simple. We've done it a million times. It's cheap. You don't want to give a field trip where the kids like you worry like the family's paying for it and all this. It's like you just want to take that off of them. It was like $3 a kid, and now I know why. So we got to the zoo, and we're like going through, and there's like a zebra like defecating next to another zebra, and then we're walking through.
The kids loved it.
Yeah,
It was
the
an
kids are
uproar
like,
of laughter.
Well, they thought they did. So we get to the gorilla enclosure.
Okay. That's always the coolest part of the zoo, in my opinion. I'm always like, yeah. So
Hey,
I'm a
Anna.
little nervous.
Hey, Hannah, is it?
Is
it cool?
Are you about to prove me wrong?
We get over the gorillas, right? And, you know, the thing is that anytime that I've gone to the zoo in my whole goddamn life, the gorillas have been really boring where they just sit there and they're like, you know? And Christ, I wish that was the case this time. Ooh. So we get there, and there's like 3 gorillas. They're all just chilling. There is a very pregnant mama gorilla, right? And I don't know the gestation period of gorillas, but they decided on today. So
No.
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 Are we allowed to swear on here?
I don't know the answer.
Blank you not. This thing looked over at my group of 4th graders and was like, walked up. If you're the glass, right? You're the kid behind the glass. It walked up and goes, oh no. And when I tell you the most violent childbirth you've ever seen in your whole life, this thing, like with the kids just sitting there like, oh no. Oh my God.
I mean, is that even allowed? I'd be like, close your eyes, kids.
What are you going to do? Be like,
Right.
No. And I got 30 kids that are all like, what's happening? And the thing is, I had a couple of kids whose moms were pregnant. And they're like,
no.
it has a baby in its belly too. And I'm like, not for long, Joseph. Watch this. Not 1 baby, not 2 babies, 3.
It had triplets?
Brand new babies, like they were on carry, covered in blood. Just, the kids are sitting there like,
Where was the zookeeper at? Did they was there a
zookeeper
doctor
was
in
sitting
the
there
house?
just as shocked as we were. The zookeeper's like, it's time. It's like, it was the
Everybody was
craziest thing.
panicking.
Well, the thing is, the zookeepers, they're big like biologists, and they're like, we've been waiting months for this.
Yeah,
and
they're
I'm
excited.
like, I would pay a monthly fee to never have to watch this again. Never mind a 4th grader who's like,
gosh.
what is that part of a person? What's
Right.
coming out of it? And
Right.
why is it screaming?
Yeah.
But you can't block 30 pairs of eyes
No.
at one time.
And
So
they're
I'm
like
like,
up
let's go
against the
over here.
glass at
But
this
they're looking
point.
at it like it's a car crash. They can't look away.
Yeah.
They're like, they're staring into this gorilla.
Ah!
So we're on
Literally.
so as you can imagine, silence. We're on the bus on the way back. Like,
Everyone's traumatized.
everyone's traumatized. I'm
PTSD.
traumatized. I'm 22 years old. I've been through college. I've done what I need to do. I'm like,
But 22 years old, you're a kid still,
the
basically.
kids look at me and they're like, Mr. J, are you okay? And I'm like, I should be asking you that. I'm on contract to ask you if you're okay. I know I'm not.
Yeah.
So you're not going to sleep for a month. So I get back and I have to spend like an extra, 2 hours like calling parents after school being like, hey, so do you know how in 2 years your kid's supposed to watch that Just Around the Corner Miracle of Life thing?
We talked about that recently.
Well, the corner's here, and your child watched it from start to finish.
Nice.
And he has not eaten anything since. He might not eat anything after this. If he has questions, I can't answer them.
Yeah.
So enjoy Joseph, because he has not looked the same since. He's been white as a ghost
I was
ever
gonna say,
since.
poor
Joseph,
baby
yeah.
Joseph.
He became a
Joseph is
man.
a different child.
He became a man after that
No, but it
field
was
trip.
like, I got back and my principal was like, why did you do that? And I was like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? What do you think? I looked over and was like, push! No, it's like,
Yeah.
it's not the case. I was like, I couldn't plan for this.
Yeah.
What do you think? I was like watching the mama gorilla being like, you know what? In 3 months, she's going to be ready to go. No. And naturally, it became my fault. But my kids came back, and I remember a couple years later, they would tell me, they're like, we watched that video about like what birth is, what like
Miracle
all
of
this is. And they're like, we didn't need to watch it. We
They
for
could've
sure
taught the
did not
class.
need to watch
Like,
it. Yeah,
they're like,
right? There's
let-
nothing you can show them that they have not already seen in vivid color.
See, I thought that like every field trip in the Boston area would just be like a championship parade. You know, because you guys won all those championship parades for all those years. I'm like, oh, we're gonna go watch the 18th Patriot championship parade.
Yeah, but then there's something to celebrate. All we're celebrating with school field trips is a teacher who's one like big nose joke away from going off the deep end and ending up being a news headline. Like, no, there's nothing to celebrate. Actually, it's like a mourning of like what you used to be as a person because you're going on this field trip so that you can breathe actual air for 5 seconds. No, I wish it was like a parade. Yeah, I could probably bring them to a parade. There's a bunch of kids there all the time. It's insane.
Yeah, man. Well, I had a zoo story, and now I don't even want to tell it because that wins.
That one wins.
That one wins.
What was? I want to know your.
Hey,
what was yours?
Anna. No one wins.
No,
no one ever
everyone
wins.
lost that
okay,
day,
no,
except
we
Mom,
lost
the
when we
mommy
took the
won.
job. Okay,
Yeah.
no, like don't worry. There's no winners in this room.
What's your zoo story?
Mine's real quick, but it was just so the very first field trip I ever attended was actually the summer before my first year of teaching. So at my school, we did like a kind of like a little intro camp for the 9th graders coming in, the freshmen, and we took them to the Bronx Zoo, and you know. Like I said, I didn't know I hated field trips until that day. That was the day I found out.
Mm-hmm.
And
when you got told where you were going.
Right. And like, you know, in New York City, like, you know, you don't see, they call them like the cheese buses, like the yellow school buses. You don't see them because kids take the train, the subway. But we had buses that day and, you know, you're doing the head count and everything. And on my bus, when we were leaving, we were one kid down.
Oh, no.
And
it's a nightmare.
And it was my bus. And I was like, I lost a kid. My first field trip, I lost a kid.
When I tell you I'd quit and walk home.
I was like, what do I do?
It's a scary feeling.
I was really scared. I mean, I'm like, code red. I don't know what to do.
What teaching career? I'm good.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, I hadn't even had my first day of teaching yet, and I already lost a kid on a field trip. This is so bad.
That's scary.
And so, but you know, there were 3 buses, and I like pop out. I'm like, help! You know, I need help. And I mean, we probably took 45 minutes looking for this kid, and we somehow got a hold of their cell phone number, and they had taken the subway home.
Are you
so they
serious?
were already home. Yeah, they just were like, I'm just gonna go home. They left, and it was my fault.
Our principal, he tells us all the time that like when we have fire drills or we go somewhere, anything that's out of the ordinary, he's like, your only job is to not lose a kid. He's like, well, that's not your fault though. You found the kid.
Are you sure, Gabe?
That was like the kid just deciding to up and leave. Like that's not on you. When it's on the teacher, it's like, oh yeah, we all left and I didn't realize the kid was still at the venue or whatever it was.
That's what I was gonna say. It's one thing if the case is still cold today.
Yeah, right. Like, could you imagine? We never saw him again.
Yeah. Can you imagine us if she was like, yeah, we didn't find him,
and
we're just sitting there watching. She's like.
Like,
end.
Now we know why you fled.
This was a quick story. You're right.
we know why you fled the Bronx.
In the Bronx. You're just like
we're never
going to
find him.
Yeah. No.
We
that's Darwinism at its best.
No.
A couple years ago, we went to a job fair. Okay.
Oh, those are
job fairs are always interesting.
The kids are like, this being an adult sucks.
Well, and it's interesting because there's always 2 different parties that are looking for jobs. You got the kids who are looking for jobs. Mm-hmm. You've got the teachers who are so over their job that they're there kind of looking.
And they're like, you'll pay what?
Yeah, seriously.
You have your resume in your backpack ready to go.
There was one
copies of it.
There was one year where this teacher, he was so over teaching. Like he was so over it. He was at that point in his career where, you know, you could still be done with teaching and find another career. And like, so he like openly was talking to these other like booths and he was taking the information. Like he knew that his time was going to be up. He knew he was going to find a different job and was collecting these pamphlets, actively looking for a different job. And we're like, you know what? Be confident, I guess. Like, let everybody know you're going to be done.
That's so gangster.
Yeah, you know you've given up.
And he was
truly
done.
Given up.
He quit the next year. Like, he wasn't back. So I don't know if he found a job while he was
at the CEO at whatever company he was talking to. That's actually awesome.
He's making millions. I'm happy for him. I'm so happy for him.
Yeah, it's like, good for you, man. Own it, I guess.
I actually made a board teacher's video about that. Like,
did you really?
Getting caught updating your resume and looking for another job. So I got the inspo from him, I guess.
I've filled out applications at work. I have taken interviews at work where they're like, "What are your strengths as a teacher?" And I'm like, honestly, I think it's my self-control. And a kid does something, I'm like, "Shut up!" And then they're like, what else? And I'm like, I'm very, very organized. There's like a mountain of like, Christ knows what behind me.
The field trips that I could never do, and bless these teachers' hearts, are the ones that will like in the summer, go to Washington D.C. or somewhere.
never.
They
An
will
overnight trip?
They will board a plane with like 25 seventh graders, and I'm like, good for you for doing that. That could
not pay me
never be me.
We
I
have
could
a
never
teacher-
organize that where we get on a plane and are in the air and go to a different city. Not a chance I'm doing that.
We have a teacher taking kids to Japan next year.
Are you
and
serious?
I've always wanted to go to Japan. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go to Japan. And I'm
By
not.
myself, I would
I
love
was
to
like-
go.
I would
and
be
there
on
was
that trip.
There was
Really?
approximately 30 seconds where I was like, Matt, I'm the one that hates field trips. I was like, I could do it. I
Yeah.
could totally do it. I want to go to Japan. 30 seconds later, I was like, never mind. I could never do that. And I can't. Like, I'm just shocked she's gonna do it, but I'm so happy for the kids. Like that, how dope is that? Like,
Oh,
to
it's
get to
awesome.
go, like, I'm like, what? That's
Yeah,
so cool.
it's
But
incredible.
I'm not the overnight trip
Nope.
teacher. I've never done it. I never will. I'm never gonna offer it. I don't want to do it.
I think the like my fatal flaw is that as the moment that somebody was like, "We'll pay for you to go to Japan," I'd be like, "I volunteer. I volunteer as tribute. like, let me in."
Good for you,
It'd
though.
be a tough one though.
Because I've been on a lot of flights where they're in the middle of a field trip. Like there's a teacher, like there's two chaperones that are bringing on all these middle schoolers for this trip, and I wouldn't be able to do it. So there was one time. So I was actually flying here to Florida to do the teachers off duty deal. Okay. So at the time there was some sort of big band festival that was going on here, and I was connecting from Sioux Falls to Dallas to Orlando. And we get to Dallas, and there's a delay. Okay, there's a delay, and we're like, okay, here we go. Gotta wait. We end up boarding the plane, and there's like 2 different schools that have 50 kids. They're all here for this marching band thing, trying to get to Orlando, and everyone's crabby because there's a delay. And then we board the plane, and then there's some gal who just is going crazy. She's older. She was clearly intoxicated. Started arguing with people.
Separate from the field trip.
Separate from the field
Oh, I
trip.
thought
Not
it
the
was the
teacher.
teacher.
Yeah,
I was like,
separate from the field trip.
that's who I'd be.
Yeah, and everybody was so tired. And then the flight attendants were telling this lady, like, hey, stop or you're going to have to get off the plane.
Yeah.
And she goes, no, I'm not going to stop. So she gets even louder. And then the flight attendants go back to say, okay, please get off the plane or we're going to have to deboard. And she goes, I'm not leaving. I'm going to stay here. You can deboard everybody. So then all of a sudden, all of these marching band kids started talking trash to this gal. And like these kids that you never thought would say anything are tired, sleep deprived, want to get to Orlando.
Yeah.
And this one dude turns around and just starts barking at her and is like, get off of the plane. And just starts, and all these marching band kids are just yelling at her. And I was like, this is nuts.
High school students will do it to you. Yeah.
So we end up having to deboard the plane, and we're all upset. We're waiting, and then they get her off. And as they're getting her off, like everyone's standing there watching her, and all these marching band kids are just like yelling at her, still talking trash. I'm like, this is incredible. And then the bad part about it was such a delay that we had to find a whole new group of pilots to fly the plane because they had timed out.
Hell no.
So everybody was even more upset. All these marching band kids were just over it. I was like, wow, talk about the field trip from hell for these kids.
Yeah.
Can't pay me enough.
I'm surprised that the lady didn't like get into fetal position and start crying because a bunch of high schoolers were yelling at her.
High school
like she
band
must have
kids.
been really
That's typically
angry in
That's
order
usually
to
my
not.
response.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like right. I'm getting into fetal immediately.
I mean, it's
if
all
I
fun
were
and
her,
games until you get beaten over the head with a clarinet
right? The clarinet of all the
by some
instruments too.
by some 11th grader named Morgan. Just
Yeah.
like, I've had enough.
it's not good. Yeah, I was like, I want to go to Orlando.
I couldn't believe how good at talking trash these marching band kids were,
they're
though. Like, it was
for
such
it.
a
Are you
cool
kidding
moment
me?
where I'm like,
Marching band kids are the coolest because they have
Good for
like
you
they're
guys.
tight knit. Like those kids are tight knit group right there.
I mean, here's one thing I will say, and I want to know if you guys have experienced this too. I think the most constructive lesson that my students have learned that has to do with a field trip are the moments where we've had one planned for months, right? And then they're acting up, and I fully cancel it.
have you followed through and been like, no, we're not going to do the field trip anymore?
Are you kidding me?
the power you
Yes.
hold.
Yeah.
Holy
Whoa.
hell. The way that I tell my students, I'm like, listen, and this is especially when you're teaching elementary school. High schoolers, they're like, you're 22. I'm not gonna. We're not gonna go. No, like when these fifth grade, we're not. If I say we're not gonna go to this 22-year-old, he's gonna be like, good. It's like I wasn't gonna come anyway. So when I was teaching my fifth graders, I was like, listen, I am a very petty person. I feel like most teachers, to some extent or another, are incredibly petty.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of our superpowers. You really have to be.
You have to be.
I told him, I was like, if I think for a moment that you are going to act in any way that isn't absolutely perfect, I'm not taking you out of this school.
Yeah.
So I was like, I have two things I can do, and I've done both. I was like, I know many people in the school. I work here. These are my coworkers. They're also, most of them are my friends. I will absolutely put you in a first grade classroom while we go to the field trip. I 100% will do it. And I will tell that teacher that it's her lucky day. She has an assistant. And this assistant will do anything that you need to do. I worked in a school that had infants. I was like, oh.
What?
I was like, oh, you need to change a diaper? What? Here's Danny. Danny decided to throw a pencil across the room 10 minutes before you leave for a field trip. He's got a packed lunch and everything. Take him.
Yep.
Oh, there's 7 diapers you need to change? Here's Danny.
Why were there infants at your school?
Oh, my school was like
A hospital?
it was basically.
Did you teach in the NICU?
You would think so. It was the most unsanitary hospital in the world. No, it was like, so my school was, this was Catholic schools, so they'll just do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
We had like, I think it was 40 weeks up to 6th grade. And we had like a whole separate.
40 weeks?
40 weeks.
What is 40 weeks?
I was like, how many, what is that?
Yeah.
They called it 40 weeks to make it sound like they were like brand new babies, and the kid's like, yay! No, it's like a 4-year-old.
I was like, I don't know. I can't do math
The only
right
reason
now. I don't
the
know
only
how much
reason I
40
know
weeks
it was
is.
40 weeks is because I remember reading 40 weeks, and I and a bunch of other people were like, "What? So this kid's like
Get a calculator
This
out.
kid's like a preteen. Like what are we doing here?"
40 weeks.
No, so I remember very 156.
No.
What?
I'm going to start saying, instead of teaching 7th graders, I teach 156 week olds.
Yes. Yes, please
I'm
do
going to
it.
start saying that instead.
I love that so much.
So that was one thing that I did very, very often. And I had like, obviously you got to talk to the other teacher because you can't just like, hey, here's
Right.
6 extra kids.
Right.
But I would talk to them. I'd be like, listen, he's starting to act up. You're probably going to have another kid, and he's not going to cause a problem because he's already going to be pretty pissed off
Yeah.
about the trip. I've left kids at the school many, many times
Yeah.
I
where
have
I'm like,
too.
sorry, you decided to act
They
up.
earn it. They earn the ability to stay.
100%.
And then you have the flip side of some kids that you're like, if I was a betting man, I don't think they're going to make it. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden they just figure it out.
Right. Yep.
And then they go on the field trip and they're rock stars.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
good for you. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yep.
We figured it out.
And then I've also had classes where like every class has their angels,
Yeah.
where it's just like the kid who's just raised perfectly.
Yeah.
But there have been some times where even the kids who were very, very well behaved generally, they just like start acting up and just
Yeah.
like being rude or like
Right.
not doing their work or anything. I'm like, I'm not going to lie. You all are about one problem away from me canceling the trip. And they're like, you wouldn't. And I'm like, there it is. I hope you did your
Yeah.
homework because I'm canceling the bus.
Yeah.
I was
And-
like, I'm going to send you home with the money you brought me for this field trip. You're not going on a field trip. And they're like, you can't do that. And I'm like,
I can do it.
I was like, I just did it. Actually, it's crazy.
The kids that like whenever you get off that routine
Yeah.
or the idea that like tomorrow's not going to be our routine, like I'm a hardcore routine. We like my 60-minute class looks exactly the same every day. So even those good kids, once that routine's off a little bit, you just don't know. We one time told a kid he wasn't going on a field trip 30 minutes before the field trip. He made some bad decisions, and
good.
I've never seen a kid violently cry like that. And there was a part of me like, I love being a teacher. I was devastated for him.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
kind of felt bad. I was like,
I get
oh,
it.
but like we had to stick to it. Like
Yep.
you can't just fight someone right before a field trip
Yeah.
and go on the field. That's not
Yeah.
how this works.
100%.
And as much as I would want him to go and experience it, like you have to hold true to it. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
you sometimes you get your invitation taken away from you.
But what's funny is it's much more common in my time teaching younger grades to like leave them at the school and be like, you know what? Sorry, you lost it.
Yeah.
Because I really, really hate punishments that include the entire class, especially
Yeah.
kids that didn't do
Right,
anything.
right.
Yep.
Like if I'm screwing around and you two are doing fine, we shouldn't all stay back. I only completely took away the field trip where I was like, you are all fully out of whack. It's usually like Christmas time where kids just like become feral.
Yes.
But I don't know. I feel like that I always love to do that pretty early on in the year where it's like, I'm not better than leaving you at the school while we go on a field trip. And I'll make sure that I send pictures to the teacher so it can be like, look, they all got candy. And the kid's like, damn it, But you might notice that kid will never screw around again.
Right.
Sometimes you got to
You know?
learn your lesson.
Yeah.
Sometimes
And
you
if you're
gotta-
like a new teacher watching this, you got to understand that like that emotion of like you seeing the kid like bugging out because he's all sad and wanting to be like, oh, like, yes, 100%. You're not wrong at all for feeling that way.
Yeah.
But you need to tuck that in.
Yeah. Oh,
because if you show any sign of like they can manipulate you, you're done.
Yep.
You need to say, like, if I hear another disrespectful thing or action come out of you, you are not going on the trip. And the minute they do it, be like, by the way, you're going to be doing a lot of reading while we're on the trip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you stick to it, those kids are angels for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Because you never know what surprises. I am ADHD. I'll wake up one day and I'll be like, munchkins, you know, like, you know, and then if you're screwing around, I'm not going to give you any munchkins. I'll eat them myself.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't need belts to fit.
The entire time as
I want my belt to fit. I'm just throwing it out there. Okay.
You still have self-worth.
I was
Good
like,
for
oh
you.
my gosh, I want my belt to fit.
I envy you.
during this entire episode, I kept thinking of like all the field trips that I've been on. And
Other than this,
they're all to the farm,
farm?
or like the wastewater treatment plant and like all this stuff. I'm like, man, we could have some interesting field trips in the Dakotas. Like the entire time, I'm like, God, where else did we go? I'm like, oh yeah, I went to the
Gabe,
farm.
can I come to your school and go on a trip with you guys?
I want to go to the farm.
If you want to go, if you
can
want
I be a chaperone?
come learn about how we make ethanol in South Dakota. It is, when we go to the ethanol plant, dude, it is awesome. Shout out to Poet Ethanol, man. They do a great job of
that
talking
sounds
about.
so dangerous.
It's
Is
sweet.
this a sponsorship? How do you make ethanol?
No. How do you make ethanol? You get it from corn, dude. Corn and soy.
Back
It's
to
sweet.
corn. Here we go.
I
See,
know.
this is why I shouldn't have taught science.
It's awesome. I love learning about how we make ethanol. It's interesting. But if any of you in the comments here have got some crazy field trip stories, let us know. What are some crazy stories that you have for us? And once again, a gentle reminder: the best field trip you could ever go on is the Riviera Maya, July 10 through the 13th, for the first ever live recordings of Teachers Off Duty. Go see some awesome
Amazing.
comedians
Literally,
as well.
come drink on a beach with me.
That'd be great.
Are you kidding me? Like,
Let's do
why,
it.
Why wouldn't you is the question.
Exactly.
Like, if it's an opportunity, like there's no good reason not to.
It'll be awesome.
You know? You can watch me act a fool more so than I do whenever I sit at this table.
I love it. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.